We're gonna call the meeting to order at 6:02. Roger, implications and pledge.
Lord, we thank you for this time and for the day at Southwest ISD. We ask you to bless us with your spirit of wisdom as we discuss the business of our district. Bless this meeting today, all those present, as well as those lives that we will encounter afterwards. Ready us to make every moment count. Enable us to draw upon the wisdom and experience of yesterday as we respond to the questions and concerns of tomorrow. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Roger. Okay, do we have anybody signed up to speak? No. Okay, no public comment. Item 4 on the agenda, consider approval of Southwest ISD joining the second cohort of the Raise Your Hand Texas Trustee Advocates Program.
Yes, so we're very excited. About 2 months ago, we submitted our application. And we have been selected. So this is going to count for team credit, individual credit, and there'll be several trainings throughout the year. So we shared one of these with you. So you can look and see the dates. At every time, there's 3 members that get to go to this training. Our very first training, though, is gonna be on Monday, April the 8th. And so that'll be a meeting that we'll have here, and it'll be Monday, April the 8th. And it'll be at 6 o'clock, like our regular board meeting. The trick is, there's some of you that are involved in the safety and security meeting. You'll have to leave that meeting a little bit early because it's also on the same day. So from 5 to 6:30 is the safety and security meeting, and then we'll have this one at 6 o'clock, and that's what begins this training. And then I'd like for y'all to look at the dates and see who could go on April 17th through the 19th. That's the very first training, and it's in Austin. This is all expense paid. Raise Your Hand pays for our meals, our lodging, our travel, everything. So I would hope that y'all will look at your calendars and select which days, which sessions you want to go to. And this does require board approval to become part of this.
Where does it say April 8th? I'm just curious.
Oh, she sent me a separate email. She sent me
okay.
a separate, it's gonna be in our board, in the boardroom. April 8th will be in the boardroom.
This one? No, that day, I think it's. the
Okay, so,
Mistake, if it's here, that'd be something like, right, am I wrong or?
Does anybody know what day to come back from New Orleans?
I think it's.
I'm gonna be gone from there. I'm going somewhere else, so I'm not gonna be here all week.
I can attend on the 8th.
Okay,
Do we all have to attend? Well, we can't because some people.
right,
are
okay.
here.
So I will have to ask her for some different dates.
Okay.
How about March 28th? March 28th. Does that, anybody have any conflicts on March 28th?
Hang on 1 second.
It's the day right before Good Friday, it's a Thursday.
Oh,
I'm
I can
good.
do that.
I can do that too.
Okay, so we'll do March 28th.
Okay. All right, so, this is a action item, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we need, a motion.
I move.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve Southwest ISD joining the second cohort of the Raise Your Hand Texas Trustee Advocates Program. Do you have any questions, board members? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you, that carries. Item 5, consider the award of RFCSP 2324-017, SWISD Child Nutrition Freezer Addition and Renovation Project. Dr. Wong?
Yes, and that was in your packet, so you have that before you. The only thing that has changed is that the funds are gonna come from the Child Nutrition Funds and then also from
Fund balance.
our fund balance, and not on there, it said, I think bonds or something like that. So that's the only correction on that. And it'll actually be located right around this corner.
Okay. All right, board members,
I move.
okay, Daniel
I
moves.
second.
Flo seconds. Any questions, board members? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you, that carries. Board operating procedures.
Oh, we have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Consider approval of amendment to the compensation plan to include an aviation instructor stipend.
Yes, I'd like to provide a stipend. We have been looking for a new teacher. Our aviation teacher did resign, so in order to attract a teacher and also because of the scope of work that it requires lots of evenings and weekend hours, we like to pay the aviation teacher a stipend.
Board members,
I move.
I second.
we have a first and a second. Do we have any questions, board members? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. Now on to, board operating procedure training.
Yes, I'd like to start by thanking the board. We do have Oren with us, but the board has done lots of work on this before. I sent it to Oren, which Oren works for TASB to review it, give us a few suggestions. And I know that the board has had this already, and you've spent ample time looking at it and reviewing it. So this is just an opportunity for Oren to come and help us and guide us. And one final look before we do take it for approval. So Oren had a few suggestions, but overall, he said the product looked very good. So I'd like to commend the board for all the work that they have done on this. And Oren is going to lead us through some discussions and follow up. And we have Ms. Barnes, which will be making any changes that we need to this. So then you will have the completed document. So we're close. So Oren, whenever you're ready.
All right, give me 2 seconds.
No problem.
So as always, thank you again for having me out. And as Dr. Ball mentioned, the product was, I thought, outstanding. I mean, I would say it's 95, 6, 7, 8% complete. I have a few recommendations that I've already shared. And so I want to get your comments or thoughts on a couple of other areas. And perfect. Dr. Burlock, no, yes, sir. Should be 2 papers. Okay, sure.
Yes, that is the old one. Okay.
Oh, it's okay. What I want to do is to get my comments on that.
Right.
I know you have the most updated one. So keep that in mind, y'all. This is the old one. This is not where we left off. And so you'll see some changes tracked here, just for my benefit to kind of keep up with with my thoughts. But the president has a complete one.
And just so everybody knows, if you want a copy with orange changes, you can see that too. We have this copy. Anybody want one?
Good. Thank you.
Again, it's gonna be pretty short. In fact, I'm gonna go talk to my supervisor about letting this be one of our, what do you call it, networking and connection projects. So we don't have to give y'all a full session for this. Do get the credit nonetheless. So just the first one I highlighted, and I've already made this recommendation, has to do with the public comment section. A couple of years back, I think maybe one session ago, it talked about the law requiring double the amount of time needed for a person making a public comment if they're using a translator. And whatever language they're speaking is not being translated in real time or simultaneously. And so it might be worth mentioning just for future board members that the board is required to allow twice the amount of time, whatever is given. So if in your determination, there's a long list and you say, we're gonna set it at 1 minute for public comments based on policy, I could do a policy, maybe BED, you have that right to do that. Then that means 2 minutes for anyone using the translator that is not translating simultaneously. But it can already been made, the correction already been made there. Number 4, I made a comment, and again, in that same session, they really did do away with the idea that we can limit the number of people addressing the board. And I know it could be arduous, but the law basically said that if anyone wants to address the board, they get to do it. If it's 3 people in a group, but that one's pretty straightforward recommendation.
That would mean taking that out.
Yeah, taking it out. If it's safe to bet, no need to change it, just taking it out.
Okay.
And then the other one, is it already out when it refers to encouraging board and public commenters? If they're in a group to let one spokesperson?
That was the comment that he just asked,
Okay.
and I just removed that.
Okay, okay.
Because that's the one that says to allow them to have one person to speak,
Right.
but you said,
It's safest to just, yeah, leave it out. Now, you might want to say they may have one spokesperson, but I don't know that it's safe if districts encourage them to do something that was against something they could lawfully and easily do.
Right. Let's see.
Want to go back up?
No, I was just trying to see where you were at on.
Yeah, I'm on communication.
Oh, you had that.
This is where we do, I want to invite a bit of discussion, just from my understanding. And if in the future you have new board members, they can have the same understanding. 4C, individual members may contact central office senior staff members for general information. I'm curious how to just, for the sake of consistency and integrity of the board, how did you all define general information? And what kind of have you used to define it? Is it anything that is not below where it talks about specific reports created that require interpretation? Or have you had prior discussions on how you define general information?
I thought it would be general information that's already on the agenda for the evening. I don't know.
What are you asking?
So in this phrase here, what might be one board member's interpretation of general information compared to another one, maybe who's new to the board?
Well, sometimes when they do the, RFPs, there'll be like, something that says 40 points was awarded for this, and I'm not really sure what that is. So I might call and say, what do you mean by, subcontractor qualification or whatever?
Okay,
So,
Acronym or
yeah,
I
acronym.
try to stay away from them, but every once in a while there's.
first,
I
okay,
know, especially the first year I was on with tagging Brandon for a lot of the business stuff aside and understanding kind of what's on there. I mean, it was nothing that was actually specific for contracts, just what was gonna be listed on the agenda. Trying to understand it before it got to the board meeting, so what was he explaining?
sure.
Nothing about the companies or anything like that or stuff, but just general understanding what was being presented.
That makes perfect sense. And again, I think it's well defined in part D, where you talk about what kind of things do require a board effort or a board vote, or should be considered board action. The one thing I added again is a safeguard. I've been encouraging boards to adopt this with every board operating procedure review I've done in the past year or so, is to make mention of the tracking requirement. This would have been about, I want to say 2013 maybe, when they first kind of talked about this. It's not much different than what we already knew, but it does put it in plain terms so that anyone can understand what the requirements are for tracking. But you'll see that in the red text there. And then for a more thorough review, you can see the appropriate section in the Texas Administrative Code, Education Code, to read about the deeper detail. It's not a problem in general for board members who've been on the board to understand just what kind of data to ask for. Most board operating procedures are structured in a way that allow this to not be as big of an issue. And so one way that TA put it to be simple was, let me back up. So when they talked about what's the difference if a board member asks for it individually, but then the whole board gets it, and it still counts as an individual request. It requires tracking because the whole board asked would not. And so there was some guidance written, and I think ultimately it mentioned that it would especially apply to things outside of the meeting, outside of a call meeting, and that met versus the requirements.
So
Again.
this is to, address a board member that's like, taking advantage, like,
I do think a bit of the
what is it
motivation
called,
was,
like
yeah.
monopolizing the director's time, like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want, so then they're, what this is saying that the district is required to track
tracking.
how much time they spend and how many
much time,
times.
the estimated dollar cost to the district, and then report it to teams and to the community.
Okay,
So it has to be publicly.
It's on there, right? If they cost too much money, we could be charged to, like, for paper and all that stuff.
Right, and so, yeah, the estimated cost, and then there are stipulations, and, I mean, I won't conjecture here, but there are rules that, you know, are circumstances under which there is a cost for a member. But typically, in your role, you have access to information. But again, and you're right, the motivation was to make sure that district personnel are able to spend time where it matters most.
right.
And that is doing the district's work. And like some laws are written, unfortunately, is to kind of rein in a few actors who are not getting on board.
But if we have a community member that's requesting more stuff, can you allow to charge them for stuff also?
But you.
Yeah.
As long as
It can be-
No, not as a board member, as a community
No, no,
member,
yeah.
that'd be out, I want more harassing.
Yeah, there are certain data that can be charged with, right? And if, like I said, if you read further in 11, 15, 12, it gets very specific about which one to charge. It's pretty neat. Like if it's housed in two different buildings, right, then it can be a charge, for example, or if it's an electronic document but requires you to print it, so you can redact information, then it's a charge. If it's purely electronic, then not so, right? So it's pretty interesting. And I would encourage every central office just to protect their time and energy and their mission, just to be well versed with that. And then more important, to educate the community on it. Because again, it was written to protect those who are working on behalf of educating students. But again, it doesn't limit you in your effort to get information because you are allowed that information in the scope of your official duty and responsibility as an officer of the school. And so again, pretty standard language. This is the sample policy that any district would have. No point in really adding to it or taking away from it because it's pretty straightforward as it is and pretty simple in its nature. But any questions about that at all?
No.
Okay.
So we're adding. I'm just taking notes as you guys go.
Oh,
Feel good about keeping that one in there?
yeah, I think so.
Definitely, yeah.
F was more of a question, and we're on 4F, same section, communication. I was just curious why those concerns should be communicated via a phone call or face-to-face meetings, but not include email. I'm not saying it has to, I just want to understand maybe potential motivation behind it.
I don't know.
Face to face.
Emails is good.
Well,
Yeah, with that
sometimes.
email, the paper trail gets you in
Yeah,
trouble.
but sometimes emails are. I always think it's better, did we put that in when we were
No,
working
that
on
was
it?
for.
I
that
would
was
say if
not-
it was maybe something, you know, that was concerning an email, sometimes you can't, some people. Context in an email isn't understood as much as, you know, face to face or phone call.
There's a lot of people that don't use the email systems.
They watch it.
Wow.
I mean, we could add, email.
Because like, for example, Mr. Bernard, the example you gave right now. You said, what does this letter stand for? That one is really easy to answer in
Yeah.
an email.
Yeah,
And so let me ask another question. The same tenor and principle apply when a board member asks a question for clarification or report, for example. It's common to share with all the teams. Would this kind of be in the same vein? If one person has a question, would that question and response want to be shared with the entire team?
I
I
thought
know
we couldn't,
sometimes a matter of privacy, some board members don't, but what do you think?
I thought we couldn't do that. We were told that we couldn't have walking quorums with email and text and stuff like that, so we couldn't email the entire team. Does that still apply or does it?
It applies. I'm trying to think if,
So like the example that I give, on Friday notes, I email to the entire board, but we don't have a communication
Right.
back and forth.
Yeah,
So if
we-
somebody has a question, then they pick up the phone or send me an individual email or text and say, please call me when you can. But we don't start back and forth,
Right.
because in that I would consider a walking forum.
Yeah.
So we don't do any of that.
we said that before when we posted.
Yeah.
stuff too.
if the question were represented clearly and accurately, this was asked, here's the response. and people don't, reply all. Talk to the attorney, but that should be similar to someone asking for a report or potentially having another question. But I was just curious about why email was not mentioned, if it was left out.
We could say or email. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
think
don't,
we should include email.
Okay,
I don't see why we can't include it. I mean,
I don't know, just call it.
Maybe we'll put this down.
but I mean, it should say or, so you have a choice of doing whichever one is more comfortable, convenient and comfortable for you.
Section 5A. And this was again more of a clarification question. And this kind of view me as an outsider like I am. I feel like I'm a new person to the board. What might be some reasons I would visit the campus in my official capacity? Was I invited to attend a program? Am I just walking just to learn and observe? What might be some reasons that someone could?
They get involved, not supposed to, but under the, follow the class.
yeah, I mean, we do have that instance where. Well,
Would that
since
actually
I got on the board, our president at that time. Told us that we don't really have any business visiting the school in our official capacity unless we're invited. Or unless we're with the superintendent. So that's just how we've always operated pretty much. Now, when our kids are in school, we can go as parents, right, in our capacity as a parent, but, I don't think that it should say the expectation is. I think it would be more along the lines of they can visit any school or district facility. And then like it's mandatory that they, not it's expected, but that it is with the approval of the or with notification of the superintendent or. I don't like the expectation that's,
It just takes away from us becoming the nuisance, because
yeah.
some of the captain's like, oh man, there's a school board member on and changing the way they're actually getting their stuff done, and we've interrupted more learning than just staying out of the way. Maybe talk to Dr. Ball about what's going on, and we're setting up something individual with the principal and let her know why we're looking to go in there, or we've heard this, and can we go take a look? Or maybe we just kind of want to see what some of the money we've spent looks like as far as its upkeep or whatever. But just walking in, it's especially safety stuff. Granted, everybody doesn't know who we are all the time, and we shouldn't be like, oh, I'm your school board member, I expect you to know me, but
Anytime I've ever gone to any of the campus, I always check in with Mona and let her know that I'm gonna be at the high school. That way she can tell the principal agent, tell them who's coming in, and we know and they'll just show up.
I'm confused as to how it reads that very first line, because from what I know, you can't just do that. So, I mean, the expectation there, maybe the wording could be a little different.
Obviously,
if-
you're asking for a reason,
Sure.
because I mean, you feel that maybe we should be able to go, or.
Right, and so on the other end, there are board members who err on the side of caution and feel like, oh, you're supposed to have the campus. And that's not the case. We don't want to go too extreme. Your presence is appreciated, it's important, it reflects a sense of awareness. And so I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't, that this was reminding trustees that yes, you will be invited to attend programs or to observe things in action, and that's okay. That's the feel I want to read when I get this.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, there's a protocol for it because we know what your presence can mean and how it could be an impact on the campus. So I'm curious if maybe we make it known that from time to time you will be invited or you have an opportunity to visit campuses in your official capacity.
Yes.
When you do, here's how we make sure that everyone's aware that we have the same approach.
Yeah, no, we have, I mean, from the get-go, Dr. Ball stated to us and asked us, please let us know if you're gonna make any kind of appearance at any of our schools, and that's pretty much what we do. Send a text to Mona, say, hey, I'm gonna be at this, we did lunch giveaways or we helped give out lunch, so we would say, hey, okay, we're gonna be at this,
reading.
We were invited
Yeah.
though. We wouldn't just go just to go. But the thing is that it can be misinterpreted by some people and they may just start arriving whenever if there isn't something.
So let's add, if you're okay with it, a procedure under here that one affirms that you will and should visit campuses. But when we go onto the campus, because of your role as a trustee, here are a few motivations that should not lead us to the campus. For example, we don't go to, evaluate. Because, I mean, there's a principal who evaluates teacher performance.
Exactly.
And I don't have a specific names, I can make that available, but the theme is, yeah, you will be invited, expected to visit, like I said before. Remember, when you're on the campus, it's not for the purpose of evaluating performance or filling the blank. I'll give you some example of language for that. Does that sound okay? Just again, a theme?
Well, could you put maybe for district facility when invited?
When invited, yeah.
Because that, somebody could just read that first line and then, well.
That's what I was talking
yeah,
about.
And then they
Okay.
just go because it says I can go, but, I don't know.
So when
It's
invited
very
to-
disruptive if you just show up as a board member without notice and what are you gonna go visit for if they're in the middle of, unless there's an event, which we usually get invited to. But it can be very disruptive if you're just visiting campus, walking the halls just because you're a board trustee.
Especially without checking.
How about if you take out the very first sentence? And it just,
Trustees should check in with the principal,
it just starts,
check.
board members, the expectation for board members visiting the campus is that you inform the superintendent.
And principal.
Because
No.
Mona and I will inform the principal, you just,
Yeah.
Yeah, we only, we let y'all know and y'all
That's
let
pretty much what
the
we
principal know.
to handle.
We deal with them only, with the superintendent.
Okay, good.
what do you say, Brent?
So the wording, I'm trying to select the wording. Individual trustees in the capacity as a board members are allowed to visit any school campus or district facilities when invited or for specific district events. The protocol is that the superintendent shall be provided with advance notice for any board member visiting a campus or district facilities. Trustees, and then the rest is the same, and then we put the protocols of what they won't do. Does that work?
I think that works.
Yeah, I'll
It's
call that out.
the protocol, and it's allowable if invited or specific events.
Yeah, but that protocol what not to do, yeah, that's still.
But I would say, and there's just one kind of clause, I think it said, allowed when invited. They are allowed outside of an invitation, but I think just to kind of create the culture, we want to encourage them to come when invited. But regardless, invited or not, they shouldn't attend with the motivation to evaluate.
Right.
But see, how do you get away, but if we put in our, if we say they don't have to be invited, then we're gonna have board members, which we have in the past, that just go.
Sure.
And they stir up problems with teachers and they wanna have little meetings if there's something going on in the campus. And so if we don't say that they're a specific event or that we've been invited to attend an event, then they could interpret that as I can just go and.
Open
walk.
campus.
And I'm okay with that. Again, it's gonna be your document. You could in the future get pushback, but that's okay. I mean, at some point, someone's gonna say, oh, this doesn't have, it's not the law. But it is ultimately your guiding document. And if you want that in there, I 100% encourage it. So I'm with you on that. So encouraged to attend events when invited. And then if you go, you know, we aren't going to evaluate, we aren't going to,
Support.
rate. Yeah, we're going to observe and support.
Well, not to be picky, but we're not always invited to things. We still can go because it's a school event.
Right.
So maybe we don't put invited, but maybe we put to school events.
I wrote that specific school events, but I will take out specific and just put district events or campus events.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just on the calendar and
District
then
or
we just
campus,
go,
yeah.
but they don't send us an invitation. Sometimes they
I see what
do.
you're saying. So it could be like a Black History theme on the campus and you
Right.
guys attend.
And we would still have to let the superintendent know that we're going, if it's during school time, right? We're not talking about after hours,
Right.
right?
Right.
Is that right?
Francis, will you?
Maybe that could be specified as well.
We're still missing the portion that he has, but right now it's, individual trustees in the capacity of board members are allowed to visit any school or district facility when invited for campus/district events or after they have already contacted the superintendent. The protocol is that the superintendent shall be provided advance notice of any board member visiting the campus and district facilities, and and the rest stays the same, and then it'll have his protocol.
And then we agree that, or not agree that, maybe we should mention specifically, we're not there to evaluate or.
In the protocol,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
that,
the wording you'll give to me, and I'll put it
Sure.
as little sub bullets underneath that.
now what exactly does that fall under? We're not here to evaluate, like, be specific.
So evaluate a teacher's performance or to troubleshoot or problem solve. And then the tenor of it is that you have one employee and you evaluate or to obtain reports, right? So you're gonna go in to investigate, to evaluate,
Okay,
but that's the mood of it.
it just covers a wide variety.
Now, we can get specific if you want to mention a few examples.
I think so.
Okay. so-
Well, the thing is like, whenever, it's supposed to be the standard that if, Mary Smith calls me and says, you need to get rid of that art teacher at whatever. And then, so I would just call Dr. Ball and say, hey, this parent wants to meet about. So the thing not to do would be for me to go to that school and see that art teacher and say, hey, what are you doing in here, right? So we're trying to make sure that that doesn't happen because it has happened.
So not evaluate employees' performance or to.
Or
invest
parent
all of them.
complaints, yeah, that kind of stuff,
Or get involved in administrative matters.
yeah,
Okay.
Because
And maybe that'll be the blanket or get involved in administrative matters.
yeah, administrative matters, yeah.
The meeting outside, that's the group. Slip on administrator.
Yeah.
I can provide that.
Okay.
For sure. 8A under board travel. A bit of a sensitive spot, but,
It says ABC. Oh, never mind.
oh, maybe, so something where deleted might be a little bit different.
Okay.
But under board travel. It mentioned annual educational, state and national conventions. Which national conventions? Is it just categorically if some are available? Or was there one in particular in mind?
we always would travel to NSBA
NSBA?
and we still do some. most of
Okay,
the time.
great, that's good. Fixes that issue.
The other
Okay,
two
question.
items that were added there were just logistical for purchasing to make sure that you follow the reimbursement and turn it in a timely manner so that we can pay it out.
And then the last one, I believe, had to do with how an item is on the agenda, but this, Francis, I think that one was.
That was 9.
Fill my document.
I have
There
it
was some
right here.
stuff on 9.
It
It's the
is.
calendar, if you want to read it.
The two, okay.
We need to.
So we allow 5 minutes, or
We
so
allow
need to
3
put
minutes.
there?
Can we have 3 minutes?
3 minutes here?
Yes.
Okay, they want 3 minutes on there.
That's what I was. in.
It's always been 3 minutes for us, so.
Okay,
Isn't it 3 minutes if it's on the agenda and 2 minutes if it's not on the agenda? I thought that's what it was. No,
I thought.
And-
general comments is 2 and if it's on the agenda, it's 3.
and then talk to your attorney, because if it's not an agenda item, you might have the right to restrict conversation on that.
And I want to
General, they said that was
clarify,
general.
I know that in some instances, we've had people say, well, I'm gonna speak, I signed up, but I'm giving my minutes to this person. Is that really allowed? I thought every person had their own time limit.
So they sign up and then give their time to someone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 people
You,
signed.
you and I
Two.
sign up, and then you say, I'm gonna give my 3 minutes to sponsor.
Okay,
So it is 3 minutes for general and 2 minutes for specific.
Okay.
So we have to word it that way there.
So that way they get double the time. We get up, start talking.
So-
But I think that should be on there if it's allowed or not allowed. I mean, we've had it happen once
So you and I go
or
in
maybe
there,
twice.
so I gotta, but I might have anything to say, but I'm,
and
I
you're
know
a
you
better
have,
speaker,
yeah,
you get 6 minutes.
yeah. I'm not an attorney, but I won't say, but it seems like that is one individual. That person gets their time and that's it. They don't get heard from again, right? That's a different topic. But I would talk to the attorney to see if that constitutes two different people or one person. Cause it sounds like, sure,
And if
like
we
it's
should
one person,
limit it and just specify them there.
and treat them like it's one person, right? Even though they weren't, they were given 20 minutes.
I got them with 10 people, I got 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, good, right?
Yeah, because that has happened to us before.
Yes, I know.
Certainly talk to the attorney about that. Not big around, I'm talking to her.
Did you put a note about that, Francis, to talk to Jeff?
And so y'all allow a general comment, and then you have specific agenda comments.
What does that even mean? The presiding officer may amend the minutes to accommodate the number of individuals. So if we have
If it's a-
50 people that are gonna, do they even have to say what they're talking about when they sign up?
They put it on the little form.
Okay, so if we have 50 people that all want to talk about the rezoning, the attendance zone, then we can say, so Sylvester could say, we have 50 people, everybody's just gonna get 1 minute.
Right, that's essentially how it works.
Okay,
You can adjust the maximum time per person depending on the
Okay.
votes.
okay,
Which I think is a great.
yeah.
For my own learning, what were the brown bag workshops? Is it what it sound like? Just kind of bring some lunch and food in?
That's what I thought it was.
It's for the things that are gonna take a really long time. There's a lot of information about, like when we do our budgets and stuff, we'll do a workshop so that we're not keeping the public at our regular meeting till 2 in the morning or something, so it's open, anybody can attend it.
But it's usually like an hour and a half. It's timed.
But let's change that up a little bit because we've been very flexible this year. As needed, as needed.
Brown bag as needed.
And
Should
it
we
hasn't
say-
been, and the first Tuesday of the month, it hasn't been like that, which I think we do need to have.
So it may be used for brown bag workshops.
Yeah.
First Tuesday of the month, maybe.
We might just say once a month, we'll have.
Once a
brown
Yeah,
month,
bag.
once a
that's
month.
much
And
better.
not
Once
put
a
the
No,
month.
what
first
I'm saying
Tuesday.
is that it says Tuesday and it hasn't really been on Tuesday. It's been moved around
Monday,
a lot.
So you're saying once a month.
Which I
Yeah,
would prefer we had
As
set
needed.
meetings for it, but.
well, sometimes people can have.
But it's always been like that.
But that's the other thing. Let's not use the word brown bag because it's just really a special meeting.
Okay.
I really thought it was just a regular meeting with the brown bags.
Yeah.
Once a month as needed.
I never
Yeah.
went to one.
Yeah.
And share it.
So,
The meeting will be.
Special
Instead of
meeting.
calling it brown bag. let's
Special
call it
meeting is
Special
good.
meeting.
So once a month, the board may call a special meeting
Yeah.
to,
I think we had been calling them special meetings.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
how I post it.
Yeah.
I don't post it. But we tell y'all brown bag. Yes.
Right, so once a month, what did you say?
so in addition to its regular monthly meeting, the board may call a special meeting.
Yes.
You want to say why or for what, or just may call a special meeting to conduct district business?
That's it.
Sure.
Just
Yeah.
General.
I'm gonna look at one more and then Francis will come back to the two that you mentioned. I was trying to find this one about, items on the agenda. Make sure.
I can't see without these. I have to see more. I forgot mine.
We
Not
can share these if you want.
No, I don't need them for reading. I need them to see.
Oh.
more.
And I can see far, but I can't see close.
So look at section. Under meetings. Part 3. And then go down, please, to. E. 3E. And then under E.
Facing agenda item?
Yeah, I was
Is it E4 or which one?
E4. E4,
Okay.
E4 and 5, without a qualifier, it made me believe that they were a big contradiction. So E4 says the board president has the final determination of the agenda items for the official and final board meeting agenda. I recognize that this can be reconciled if you're referring to that one meeting, but you're also sure taking into account number 5. But if the president has a final determination, it says something doesn't go on there, but then later on it says The board president shall ensure that any topic of the board individual members may have requested to be addressed are either on the agenda or scheduled for the future. And I know it's a small loophole, but if number 4, for example, is the rule in perpetuity, at what point does that, so which one do we want to modify or potentially remove?
Well, we have to have number 5 because, I mean, sometimes there are topics that maybe 3 of us want on the agenda, and if the president doesn't want them, I don't know that they should have the authority to just say, we're not gonna talk about it.
Okay,
I don't know, I'm just asking.
and so maybe if you think about 4, we say, and I think what it's kind of conveys that in the end, the board president sets the final agenda. And it doesn't mean that there are specific items excluded, because one is setting the agenda as a whole, but the other sounds like I get to take off certain things, and it doesn't jive with the next line. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So maybe 4, we amend by saying the board president final determination, or
Well, even
set
number
the
6,
final agenda for,
even number 6, it says,
Mhm.
the board president shall not have the authority, so,
okay, so
So it's
then
already-
with those 3, I'm okay with it.
okay,
right?
yeah,
Because again, they are all conditional.
Yeah.
I want to
Okay.
make sure we're on the same page. Is that
Yeah.
okay with you all?
yeah, as
Yeah.
long as
Okay.
number 6 is on.
Okay. And then the last 2, and I don't know if they're on here, Francis, can you tell me which ones they were? The 2 yellow that you have there?
It's gonna be under, section 9, creation of board activity calendar.
Okay.
Going back to the other thing, Orin, it says, at an appropriate time in the near future. That's pretty vague.
Okay, so some districts have put time limits. They put within 30 days or 60 days.
I mean, as long as that's in there, then we, as a president, we could say, we'll talk about that, in 3 months. And they'd be within their right to say,
I thought that was
Yeah.
one we changed to that. wording.
I mean, I'm good with that, but
Yeah.
people might look at it and that's just like subjective to the president.
Yeah,
Right.
and so let's just play the far end of the other advocate. Say someone does come in here and say, I want to have a guarantee or a time limit. What is it like within that school year? And I've seen some districts say, for the sake of clarity, making sure we're just get on the right foot now, they have set 20 or 30 days or, within 2 meetings. How do you all feel about setting 30 days or 60 days? And in the event you don't have a regional president, God forbid, I mean, what is a policy that holds them accountable for the other procedure?
I mean, we don't have that issue right now, but I'm just saying, you never know
Yeah.
what's gonna happen and then you get. Well, I mean, I'm all right with the wording right now. We can just look at that later.
Okay. sounds
Yeah,
good.
because remember, these can be amended
Yes,
if you ever
at any
change your
time.
mind.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
ever change your mind or.
Right now, that would work, but
Yeah.
Within how many days?
it doesn't say, it just says near future,
Yeah,
which is okay.
yeah, that's okay, right?
Because for
Okay, that's what
well,
matters.
and for each specific thing, we could say to them for each individual thing, well, within so many times, so much time. This way it's good that it stays like that.
Yeah, and what's important again is that this team is okay. So the last 2 are under section 9B and C added to the really new.
9B and C.
Yeah, do you have those?
Hold on, let me get to that.
Are
Where-
That should be in your gray folder,
The great
Gray
folder.
folder.
Creation of board activity calendar.
eight on it.
Oh, yeah.
What page?
8.
The board members will only have access to school or district events open to the general public, that one?
Yeah.
No special access will be allowed unless otherwise organized by the superintendent?
What does that mean?
No, they have, I mean, that doesn't make sense.
That was brought up, I believe that was 2 years ago. And there was a statement made at the training session about making sure that people didn't have access to, for example, if cheerleaders are having tryouts in the judging, or
Yeah.
if on the field, or things of that nature. We wanted to make sure it's just general access,
Yeah,
because that's what I have in my notes.
Okay.
that does make sense.
Well, when you put it like that, cheerleading tryout, sure.
It was, and it's just anything, like UIL has, for special places that only certain people are allowed to go. There was a whole bunch of things that were listed
Yeah,
that
no,
day
no,
that I wrote.
now
in
I know
my-
what you're talking about.
in
That
my
makes sense,
notes.
yep.
So if the if the general public is invited, which they're not really invited to like cheerleading trials.
If it's special tryouts.
But if it's like the UIL one act play, it's a competition, but the public can still go and
They can
watch.
go where
right?
the public is,
Where
they
the
cannot
public-
go
we
where
cannot
the
go in the back,
judges
right.
or in the restricted area
Okay.
because that they're having a competition.
And most of us are pretty much aware and know that, but
I know
somebody might
sometimes-
interpret it
This
differently.
is, if we ever have new,
Right,
Yeah.
but I know sometimes like at the high school, they'll have like little judging events for the culinary arts, right? And then they'll ask the board members to come and,
So if it's organized by the superintendent allows it, then.
Yeah,
it would
then it's
be
okay.
If the superintendent's walking all the board members out to the field
yeah,
for fire and armor, then that's okay, but
Right.
you wouldn't just have the
Just
right
I
to
think
either.
B and C are good.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
okay.
Yeah, C clarifies.
You do that. And go to cheerleading tryouts too.
Yeah,
Go to
okay.
cheerleading tryouts.
Especially when the.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
School did that.
And then this was the last one for real. I forgot about this one. I'm curious, what do you all use for your self-evaluation?
Okay, so we don't have one.
Okay.
So that's another thing that we have. We need to figure out how we evaluate ourselves.
I'll get Warren and we can give you some examples.
Yeah, we were
We don't
talking,
evaluate
we've been
ourselves.
talking about it. We've
Yeah.
been hearing a lot about board evaluation. I myself, when I attended leadership class week, almost everybody does it and I was like.
You have some samples you can send me, right?
We do. And then as part of that team building, the code asks you to evaluate your continuing education needs in accordance with framework and board development. And I think,
But were you thinking we shouldn't put this on there?
I think you should be on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you just
I'm glad
highlighted
they
it to
are.
remind
I
you?
was curious of what instrument or what process. you
Oh.
use. And some boards create their own, so I was curious about.
And that is under what? The norms or what?
Yeah.
I think when we do our team of,
Right, so-
when we do our team of 8
What
training,
pages?
I think we informally do that because we discuss, how the things are running, how. Right, so it's not that we don't evaluate ourselves, we just have no thing written down, this is what we're gonna do.
We don't have a tool to do a self-evaluation.
I mean, I'll give myself an A. If I have.
I feel
That
sorry.
was good. So I owe you all one thing that's gonna keep that line for, the visits.
Once.
You'll see them.
Oh.
Do you wanna bring that up or? are
They
you
call
gonna
it
do
a retreat. It's
I just
really-
figured when we
Yeah,
all
we
get
always-
together on
we
our own.
always have it in August,
What
like
was it?
July, August,
retreat.
September.
It's called a retreat, but it's really,
When we do after every election,
That's
that
always
we
like-
have to do.
it's not a retreat.
So do y'all feel comfortable me proposing? That, I propose that the board approve these, board operating procedures as discussed with the notes that Francis took.
How about if we,
Or do you want to bring them back? to the
yes,
next-
how about if we don't, like, if we table the consider approval of board operating procedures? And then you fix it all up of what we've talked about? Okay, and then she sends it to us and we do it at our next board meeting.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, we'll do that. Are we done? Okay,
But we can discuss more if you like.
no, I don't know, but
I do need to get everybody's signature on this, so I'll come around.
So does that mean that these norms are fine or what?
well, with the changes that Francis made.
The only things we're gonna change is what we discussed.
Yeah.
That's what we discussed.
So yeah, let's get all the changes, let us read them
One more time.
one more time, and then if we still have questions, then we can either bring it up when, at the board meeting, or we can say, yeah.
Might I ask a question? On the norms, did you say you wanted to remove the norms altogether or just that one line in the norms?
What do you mean? Which one, Francis?
The one about the evaluation?
No, I think we want to keep that because they
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to
okay.
evaluate.
We want
Yeah.
to keep that, but we need to work on a tool that makes us do
There
that.
are two other sentences that are highlighted in yellow in the norms.
Okay,
And those are old, Vision 2020 wording, like,
The every
Every
child,
child,
every
every day.
day.
so we'll be removing those.
Okay.
Because that's no longer our vision statements, but I've highlighted them for you.
I don't know about the creative week culture. I mean, we wanna
we're taking
focus,
that out.
oh. Okay,
That was part of the Vision 2020.
I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Okay. All right, so in the consideration of item 8, consider approval of board operating procedures as presented.
I move that we approve, no, I move that we table I move that we table, consider approval of board operating procedures as presented until further notice or the following meeting.
So do you want to do further notice or the following meeting?
Further
Meeting
notice,
following-
the following meeting.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion that we table approving the board operating procedures until our next scheduled meeting. We have a second. Any questions, board members? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Thank you, that carries. Dr. Ball.
Yes, all of y'all received an invitation. That is for you and your family. I'm gonna put all of y'all down for 2, one of you down for 3. But so if it changes, let me know. And it'll be at Cast and we're happy to celebrate. And that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Stay here or those?
Go with
If you
this.
want them, you can have it so you can compare with
Yeah.
what we send you.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it home so then you can compare it.
Okay, so we will adjourn the meeting at 6:53.